and welcome to the Alex Urbina Radio Show. Today we're live in the KHTS studio in downtown Newhall, California with my lovely co-host Ellen Tunick. This show right here is all about life coaching and how to really take your life to the next level. And we're going to challenge your thinking, some of your beliefs, some of the distinctions and meanings that you've given to your life or the world. But we're also going to help you, if you're willing, to discover more of your full potential and what you're capable of if you're able to see life through different filters. We're going to talk about today why we turn words into emotions. Why do you think that we do turn words into emotions? And what do you mean by why do we turn words into emotions?
I was thinking about it this morning, and because I was feeling emotions. And it's like you have to lay claim to that emotion somehow by slapping a label on it. That's kind of what I think what we've been taught through life is I don't know how to feel something without putting a label on it so that I understand what it is. It's confusing. I got really confused.
So are you talking about like we have an emotion and then we label it, or are you talking about there are certain words that we hear or interpret and then give it an emotion?
It's like I was feeling something this morning. And it's words. It's actual words that we give to how we feel. Does that make right?
Yes, because we're trying to describe how we're feeling.
Right.
So if you're feeling a certain way, you're trying to reflect on that feeling and then come up with words to describe to yourself how you're feeling. So if I have a heaviness in my chest, I'm noticing that there's some heaviness and some pressure on my chest, or I'm having difficult breathing, then I have to now try to categorize what's the feeling, what's the emotion that's coming up for me, that I'm experiencing in this moment. Some people call it stress. Some people call it anxiety. So I think when you're talking about is trying to find words to describe whatever the experience that you're having, either to yourself or to other people. And it's funny that you want to dive into this topic because I love this topic.
Oh, cool.
A lot of times I will ask people, how do you feel right now? And the common response is, I'm okay. Or they'll say, I'm fine. And I'll go, really, what does that feel like? And then they look at me and they got the deer in headlights because they don't know how to describe how it feels to feel okay. This is why, because okay is not a feeling. Fine is not a feeling. We haven't, as human beings, been taught how to identify what feelings are. So a lot of times as a coach, my job is to help people identify what they're actually feeling. And it's amazing to be working with competent, powerful, intellectual human beings. And when I ask them the question, like, what are you feeling? A lot of times they don't know how to describe what the feeling is. So that's a starting place sometimes for me to coach them to try to identify what it is that they're feeling. So a lot of times I'll just throw out possibilities. Could you be feeling stressed? Could you be feeling worried? Could you be feeling sadness? Could you be feeling vulnerable? Could you be feeling? And so I'm throwing out different distinctions of what feelings are, and they go, yeah, that one.
That one.
But they haven't trained themselves. They haven't taught themselves to identify what a feeling is, what an emotion is, and then put a label or a word to it to identify what it is. So if I ask them, how do you feel? I don't feel good. We haven't just practiced saying, I feel excited. How you feeling today? I feel enthusiastic. I feel, cheerful. I'm happy. I feel joyful. And we don't practice identifying our feelings and then speaking into it. We just all default to, I'm fine, or I'm okay. And we generalize it.
Interesting. I'm confused, actually, that had a situation this morning. I sent a text to someone, and it was in my mind, it was an important text, and in my mind, it required an answer. And I didn't hear anything. So that's what prompted this whole emotion and words. I was trying to get in touch with how I felt, but all I could come up with were words. I wanted to figure out how to dive deeper into, how are you really feeling? I can slap a word on anything, but how am I feeling about it? And then what do I do with it?
Okay. So would you like to go down that road then?
Sure.
All right. So you
hold on, everybody.
So you sent a text to someone.
Yes.
I'm sure you had an expectation, right?
Yes.
What was the expectation?
That I would get a response.
Right. Now, every time we as human beings put an expectation on something, we set ourselves up for what experience?
Disappointment.
Disappointment. So could it be possible that you felt you were experiencing a disappointment that you didn't get a response back?
Yes.
Now,
okay.
So let's start with that.
Okay.
So out of the being disappointed, now that opens up the possibility for you to make up any story you want from being disappointed.
Oh, and I did.
I'm sure you did. And I'm glad we're having this discussion because we can stop, look at it, analyze it, so you can see the process that's going on. So you send a text sharing your feelings, your emotions, or having
it was a question.
Okay, so the question, but it was important to you. It was an important question that had meaning to you.
Correct.
Sent that text, didn't get a response, but you also made up a story because you didn't get a response. Probably 1,000 different things like, oh my God, they don't care. First of all, you don't even know if they read it or not.
Oh, pretty sure.
Okay, so if they read it, and it's an 80% chance they read it.
Yeah.
They read it but didn't respond. There could be a whole other story on their end, like didn't know how to answer it, right in the middle of something that was urgent, knows how important the question is to you, so they want to spend some time thinking about it so that they can serve you properly. There's a whole other area of stories you can make up that are more empowering probably than the ones that you made up, which were what?
The ones that I made up were more about me than that person.
Okay. Well, that's normal.
Okay.
Usually what happens is our monkey mind, when it doesn't have enough info, it goes to validating some of our own limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
I'm not important. I'm not good enough. Why didn't they respond? They probably don't like me. They probably they don't see value in me, right?
The word that I used was disrespected.
Okay. So you made up an interpretation that you were feeling disrespected because you didn't get a response. Correct?
Correct.
Now you're the meaning maker of that whole scenario, that whole story. That's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily real. It's just real because you attach that story to it. The crazy thing about it is that you could make up 1,000 other more empowering stories that could also be true. The question is why do you always choose the disempowering ones and the ones that validate some of your own limiting beliefs about you?
Because I got pissed off.
because you didn't get a response.
Yeah.
Now, this is how we master our lives. The way we master our lives is to learn and to train ourselves to be neutral, to take a pause, to take a time out. So when we send a request or we send an email, you got to train yourself to be sitting patiently neutral, like in a pause mode, without letting the monkey mind grab onto some kind of fear and making up stories about not getting a response. And that's a common thing that happens with most of us human beings is we're not okay with just not having nothing back or getting silence.
Yes.
Because in that silence,
you've
given me now an opportunity for me to turn the monkey mind on and let it do its thing, right? So the ego gets in there and it starts going, well, maybe this and maybe that, and see, you shouldn't have trusted them, and look all you've done for them. You made up all these stories, and that person now is a bad guy or untrustworthy, and they've disrespected you now, and you got all these stories that may not necessarily be real. The crazy thing is that it's real to you,
right?
Because they're your stories, and it's a byproduct of your story making.
Yes, but I can be very open to, yes, there's no question I made that story up.
Okay, so if you can catch yourself and say, Ellen, you made that story up, stop it.
Yeah, I don't know that to be true.
So let's put this on pause, and let's make an intentional choice to be able to just wait patiently in neutrality, so that when the response comes, I can be excited about meeting that response and then addressing it as it comes.
Okay.
Like Christmas morning, right?
Yeah.
When you're a kid, for the whole month of December, you're like, I wonder what's in those gifts. I wonder what's in those gifts. And you could probably drive yourself nuts to the point where you actually have unwrapped a gift, saw your gift, rewrapped it perfectly, right?
Yeah.
That's what a lot of kids do. Or you can just go, I can't see my gift until December 31st, or December 25th on that morning anyway. So why don't I just allow myself to just be patient and wait?
Right. And enjoy that part of
when it comes.
Yeah.
If it comes. Because we don't know.
We don't know.
You don't ever know if you're going to be alive the day that you get whatever it is that you're anticipating.
And I don't know if I'll ever get a response.
You might not. But once you send the question, there's an opportunity for you to surrender the question, let it go, and then allow you to be present in your life.
Surrender the question.
Yeah, surrender the question. Rather than, I'm sending this question, not surrendered. I'm sending the question, and now I have an expectation to get an answer back.
Yeah.
And I better get the answer that I want to hear, not the one that...
Well, and it really, the question was a kind of an open-ended question to that person. I was conscious enough not to ask the question with, I need you to blah, blah, blah. It was kind of an open question that said, what is the plan for? So I was trying to be open with the question so that the person receiving it didn't feel like, now I'm on the chopping block now, but that didn't work.
Yeah. And then we got to look at the way that you asked the question. You did it in a text message.
Yes.
So there's a lot of context missing inside of sending that text message. It was a question, an open-ended one, but it didn't have any instructions to it. There was no front end, like no tee up. So normally, like if I was going to send you a question open-ended like that, I probably would have said, I would have teed it up for you. Hey, Ellen, just a heads up. There's some things that we're planning. I know you planned something, and I want to make sure that there's a win-win for everybody, and I really want to be there for you. And I would have teed it up like that and said, what are some of the plans? And then when I'm done with the question, I would have said, if you can get back to me in the next 24 hours, that'd be great. So sometimes you forget that you can actually let people know or give them certain instructions that implies it'd be nice if you responded back to me. So did you just send the question blindly, or did you set it up with some instructions on how to get back to you, when to get back to you, those kinds of things?
I actually... I just got a response.
See?
It had to be in the universe. I asked the question and said, I just need to be aware of what your plan is so that I can move forward.
Okay. And then afterwards, did you say, if you can please get back to me by, that'd be great.
No.
Did you? Okay.
No.
Can you see though that you had the option to do that now in hindsight?
Yes.
Had you have done it, do you think it would have given you permission to kind of surrender it because you gave that time frame and you invited them to respond in that time frame?
I would like to be able, I wish I could have been in a place where I could have surrendered it. It's like I want to be now in a place that says, look, you did what you felt was necessary in your text. You sent the text. And then surrender it. You'll either get a response or you won't.
You can do that. Once you remember that you can't control other people.
Right.
In the universal
and we
law.
Can't expect.
Well, you can.
Well, but
it's
you're
just
going to get disappointed.
Yeah, if you expect, disappointment comes with it. So when you send something, if you surrender the expectation or trying to have control over them responding or not, then it frees you up to move on to what's next.
Yeah. That I think that's the key.
Which one?
The surrender for me. The key is, and in surrendering it, I also release a perceived responsibility.
Okay.
Just because I was looking for a particular answer because I felt this level of responsibility about something. So, but it really isn't my responsibility. That was just me making me responsible and trying to make this person responsible.
Okay, by asking that question, it was like you tossing the ball into their lap.
Yeah.
And the longer that they didn't respond, then the responsibility in your eyes still was weighing heavy on your shoulder.
Correct.
Because by them responding, then it meant that they grabbed it.
Yeah.
They took
I'm handing it over.
Right. They would have took it. Now by them if they would have responded, it's like, all right, now you touched it. Now it's yours.
Yeah.
But since they didn't, it's still lingering
Correct.
around on your lap.
Yes.
Isn't it crazy the stories we make up?
Oh my God. And it's I know that I'm making progress because I know I'm making stories.
Yeah.
And I can't pinpoint exactly where I should have navigated and stuff, but I'm at least conscious of knowing something is going on. And I know that I could navigate this differently.
That's good. That's the starting stages of being conscious, being aware, noticing things. Those are the early stages of realizing that you are making up a story. Like you can't stop making stories until you are able to identify that you do make them up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're totally oblivious to that, you make up these disempowering stories, and then those disempowering stories get you feeling, upset or angry and all these ill feelings, then you're totally unaware of the process that's happening.
And that's what, going back to the words, is when we assign these disempowering words to things like, anything that has a DIS in front of it, is a disempowering word. But people use them all the time. We use them towards other people, with other people, and we use them with ourselves as well. And so I was wondering, how do we become more conscious of the words we're using with ourselves? Because, immediately it was the D word, disrespect. Well, that's not a very empowering word. And I didn't want to go down that road.
Okay, but feeling disrespected is a starting point, because prior to even identifying that you felt disrespected, you didn't know what to feel. It was just a feeling.
Yeah.
So once you identified it, right, whether it's the right feeling or not, or not the right one, but the accurate one, it's a starting point to now ask yourself, okay, now why do I feel disrespected? And then question you feeling disrespected, and then go back to how most people feel disrespected. Most people feel disrespected because there's something that somebody did with an intent to disrespect that person. So then if you ask that question, then does it fit? Does that emotion fit? No.
because absolutely
because
not.
They didn't intentionally do or say or not say something to disrespect you. So it was an experience and a label that you just threw on there that was unwarranted. That's not, so you go, oh, that's not the right feeling.
Right. Okay.
But earlier I brought up the possibility that could you have felt disappointed?
Yes.
And you said, yeah. So that's a more accurate feeling, was I feel disappointed.
Yes.
And then you say, okay, now did this person intentionally do something or not do something, or say something or not say something that disappointed me? And then you got to answer no.
No.
So it's not a byproduct of something they did or didn't do. This is a process or a function that's happening all within you.
Yes.
Because you had an expectation that you'd get a response right away, and then you didn't. Then you got let down. You got disappointed.
Yes.
So it's all happening all on your side of the yard.
Yes.
And then when you can really look at that, you can go, how silly of me. Not beat yourself up, or it's just go, all right, how silly of me.
I can smile.
I get to learn this part of the learning process.
Yeah.
And so now with that kind of awareness, I can go, why don't I just not feel anything for now? Just stay neutral, stay patient, and then wait for a response.
Isn't that so interesting? I cannot feel anything for a while.
You were numb?
Just being put yourself in that neutral place and not have to be feeling.
Well, that's part of this discussion, is for me to point that out as a possibility for you to walk away from here going, I'm going to start giving myself permission to be more mindful, more aware, that I can be neutral more often if I am aware of choosing to be neutral instead of being reactive in those moments and choosing an emotion that doesn't serve me.
Yes.
We got to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about how we take these scenarios or these words and then we put emotion to it. All right? Stay tuned for more of the Alex Urbina Radio Show right here in your hometown station, KHTS. And welcome back to the Alex Urbina Radio Show. I'm your host, hanging out with Ellen Tunick. And today we're talking about why we turn words into emotions. And then we had an aha in the break.
Yes,
we
did.
What's the aha? What's the breakthrough?
The aha was for me that I was judging the person I text. I was judging him based on what I would do. And why, if I would do it, if I would always respond, why wasn't this person?
This is actually something that's very common. A lot of times when we get let down or we get disappointed, a lot of times we try to match other people's standards to our standards.
Yes.
Like, someone's not on time majority of the time, and so you get frustrated because you're probably on time.
If not early.
Yeah, all the time. So you get frustrated because they don't live by that standard. So it's a common one for us to have something that we do really well, or we decided that's going to be something that we play at a higher level. And then when other people don't, we get disappointed, let down. We feel disrespected, right? It's like,
yes, all those things.
Yeah, it's like, someone walks in and they walk right by you, or they walk in and don't shake hands to everybody and greet them, and they walk by you. Or people walk by you and don't say hello, and you go, wow, that was rude, right? You're making that judgment based on when I walk in, I look at people in the eye and I say, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Right.
So because they don't, you've decided that's disrespectful or that's rude.
I've assigned a word to it.
Yeah, and then after the word
comes the
feeling of being whatever the feeling is.
Yeah.
Like, how do you describe being disappointed?
I think the feeling, it's a little bit of anger, and it's a little bit of worry, and a little bit of sadness, because again,
and some fear,
and you put all of that in this big pot, and you make up this story, and this person either has been in a car crash, and that's why they're not responding to you. B, they don't care to respond to you. It's a whole bunch of different things, and none of them are necessarily real or truth.
Yeah. Now, what would it look like if, as you start to, your wheels start spinning, because monkey mind's in there, right? Trying to make up all these stories. What if you decided at a certain point to either follow back up with a follow-up text, or maybe even a phone call, to get them on the line, and then just find the courage to be emotionally honest and maybe tell on yourself, hey, I sent you a text earlier today. You're probably busy, but I really need to get this off my plate, and I was hoping that we can have this discussion real quick. Not making them bad and wrong because they didn't get back to you at the time that you felt
right
you needed them
my
to.
schedule.
Yeah. But, let them know that it was important to you and that it is urgent, and maybe it is bothering you because it's still on your plate and you've still decided that it's this kind of monkey on your shoulders, meaning, this burden or responsibility that you're trying to move on or move past from.
Right.
Because that person probably has no clue that you're going through this phase where you feel this, sort of anxiety coming up because you want to toss it into someone else's lap.
Well, especially if this is a little bit of a pattern with this particular person. And the pattern is sometimes you'll get a response and sometimes you won't, and sometimes you will and sometimes you won't. So I personally don't do real well with inconsistency, because the times that I don't get the response, it goes through, okay, I'm making up a story now, and why didn't they? And I'm feeling disrespected. I'm disappointed. Blah, 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 blah.
The person you're describing sounds like my son.
Oh, okay.
So certain people just, when they're there and they respond, they're there. When they don't, wherever they are, they're there, but they're not responding. So what I've practiced doing is, instead of making up stories, I'll just follow back up with another text going, hello?
Yeah, question mark?
or hey, I love you. And it's funny because after I say I love you, I usually get a response to whatever the question was. So if I send him a text at 10 a.m. and it's now 2 o'clock and he hasn't responded, I'll go, hey, by the way, just thinking of you, I love you. And he'll go, oh, I love you too, Dad. Oh, and by the way, and then he'll respond to my text. So for me, I take it more my responsibility to get whatever it is that I'm looking for, rather than putting the burden on you and blaming you for why aren't you getting back to me.
Okay.
And that's just a choice.
Right.
This is a choice because I actually have the choice to take responsibility for all of my communication, even if it requires for you to get back to me.
Okay.
Without taking it personal and making up stories that you don't care about me, son, and every time you need me, I'm there, and you're not when I need you. I can go and play that same game too, but there's no cheese down that tube. That's not empowering. That's not powerful.
No value.
What's powerful is for me to just decide if I need an answer. He probably is either busy or doesn't know, or he hasn't mastered the art of getting back to you as quickly as he can, or that as quickly as it's possible. And so I just need to be the person that decides I'm just going to I get to be responsible for the follow-up to get the answer or the communication I'm looking for.
So
without making him bad and wrong for it.
Right. So is there also a possibility that I can be responsible for, well, there's always a possibility. I caught it. I need to perhaps have a conversation with this person.
Yes.
That says no judgment, no intent to do anything but let you know how I feel when I don't hear back from you, and just make it really about me, that this is how it makes me feel. I'm not asking you to do anything differently.
Right.
I just need to share with you what comes up for me.
I love that, because now you're letting him in on a secret, like right behind the curtain, to let him know that the way that you set your own guidelines is that there's a certain rule, right, of getting back to each other in the digital world.
Right.
Whatever your rule is, it's usually 3 to 4 hours, 3 to 5 hours, or even later on tonight when you get home from work. Hey, I got your message. This is the first thing when I get home later on tonight, I'll be hitting you back. Right. Just letting me know that you got it. Yes. Sometimes.
Yes.
Right. But that's a rule and a framework that you've set down for yourself.
Those are my rules.
But sometimes you get to invite other people to see the rules that you've created, for them to go, hey, I like that.
Yeah.
Or, you know what? I'll tell you what, if that works for you, count me in on sending you a thumbs up, just letting you know I got it. Yes. And that thumbs up will represent that later on in my next break that I'm going to follow back up with you.
Yes.
But you can't just expect that blindly with people without sitting down and having that kind of discussion.
Because everybody is their own person.
I have to
constantly remind myself that
their own rules, their own way of navigating the world, including
Yes.
communication.
Yes.
Via text, phone, all that.
Whatever.
Yeah. So it's more about, I think it's powerful for you to be accountable and take responsibility for, all right, if this person's going to be in my life and in my inner circle consistently for the rest of my life, I want to have a discussion with them about it.
And why does that always freak me out?
Fear of rejection, fear of how are they going to take it.
Yeah.
You have no control over it.
Because I have the conversation in my mind.
Great. So then you just get to trust that. You get to trust in that person that they're going to honor and respect. Like, oh my God, thank you for sharing that with me. I never knew that was going on your side. As long as you're saying it to them, taking responsibility for
Complete responsibility for how it's coming
right.
down.
But if you throw a twist or a dig on them, then it's very easy for them to interpret that they're the one that's bad and wrong because they haven't created the system like you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
But most people, for the most part, when you explain to them that it's something going on your part, you worry about it, it's something that you're struggling with. Most people, for the most part, they go, you know what? I'm going to be more mindful now of when you send me stuff, and I'm either going to try to respond to you quick or at least minimum
let you know
that, hey, I got your message.
I'll get back to you.
You're the first one on the list, or the second one on the list later on tonight before I go to bed, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then now with that, you can practice surrendering.
I can release it and totally release it.
But I also want to point out that you can surrender and release it without somebody having that kind of agreement with. It's just a choice.
It's a choice.
It's a decision to go, I've sent it, it's out of my mind. And then you can go, I'm going to give him 24 hours. And then tomorrow morning, if I don't hear back, I'm going to send a follow-up text. Hey, by chance, did you happen to get my text yesterday? Oh my God, yes, I did. I was so busy. I'll take this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Or this is what I've decided. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So you can give yourself permission to send it and then decide to give him or her a certain amount of time to get to it without making up stories, right? You can create your own rule. You get, I might be a 2 or 3 hour person. You might be a 24 hour or 40 hour person, but since I'm a 3 hour and you're I don't know how many hours, I'm just going to decide for you. I'm going to give you 24 hours and then I'm going to do a follow-up.
Yeah.
After the follow-up in the morning, 24 hours later, by noon, if I don't have a response, now I'm making a phone call.
Okay. What if they don't answer?
They don't answer.
They don't answer.
Yeah, again, you can't control them on their side.
Oh, yes.
You
do what you need to do for you.
That's right.
And then let the chips fall as they may.
Exactly. And wherever they fall, they fall.
They fall.
And if you're
with no judgment.
Right. And if you're collecting evidence that they're ignoring you or they're dodging you, you can collect that evidence and put it on the shelf without judgment until it is obvious that, all right, man, that shelf is going to break now because I got so much evidence.
So we need to have a conversation.
Yeah. And then you can sit down and say, hey, I've noticed from my experience that I've been sending you these messages, and it seems like you always either have a reason to not get back to me. And then you can just flat out ask them, like two powerful human beings, are you ignoring me, or is it something that is uncomfortable for you? You can set the table very plain and simple and safe for them to go, yeah, I guess I haven't really been wanting to take this on because I can't. There's a lot on my plate right now. And then you can go, okay, hey, I'm glad we had this discussion.
Who knows what is going on?
Exactly. But don't jump to conclusions and make up these stories as though it's real.
Right.
Because it might not be real. It might be something that you're gonna feel bad if you made up all these stories and it's something that just is out of their control.
Right.
And you're like, oh man, I'm sitting here making these stories about you that aren't true, right?
Yes.
But usually those are the learning lessons for us to go, why do I do that? Why do I keep going into automatic pilot and reactive
and going down that road
and making these stories
time and time again
reactively that aren't true and not giving you the benefit of the doubt?
Yeah. So now, even if I start to go down that road, I know that I can stop myself. I can readjust and back off and go to the more neutral place.
And this is a classic example of having a coach that when you're in that mode and you're stuck and it's that Thursday night and your husband or your wife is like, wondering why you're checked out, or they can notice something's heavy on your mind. you can go, you know what, hold on. You can call your coach, tell your coach this is what's going on, and your coach gets to open up a new possibility for you to go, oh my God, I couldn't see it like that.
Right.
Thank you for sharing those different perspectives. I'm going to grab the one that's going to empower me, which is surrender it, let it go, give them 24 hours. And then tomorrow morning, if I wake up and I don't have a response, then I can follow up with the second text or maybe that phone call. But sometimes when we get stuck, we get stuck and we don't reach out to someone to unstick us.
Well, and not only that, it consumes us. And it's like all you can think about sometimes.
But only by choice.
By choice.
It's correct. Like if you knew you got stuck, but you had people to unstick you, and you don't reach out to somebody to unstick you, are you choosing to stay stuck?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, if you are stuck, and you don't realize that you have people or don't know that you have people to unstick you, are you still choosing to be stuck?
Yes.
That was a trick question. It is yes. You're still, even whether you have people to unstick you or not, and not aware.
It's still your choice to be where you are.
You're always choosing.
Yeah.
Even when you say, no, Alex, I'm not choosing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, okay, well, you're still choosing. You're choosing not to choose.
Yeah.
And then they get red and they blush and they go, oh, I never saw it like that. So we're always choosing. So if you're in a tough spot or you're feeling disappointed or you're feeling disrespected and you got that feeling and you can't unstick yourself, it's because you're stuck somewhere, and if you can't figure out how to unstick yourself, you need to find somebody that can unstick you in your life. Not just one time, but for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Until you learn how to unstick yourself. And the way that you do that is by having someone else come to unstick you so you can
just
learn
open up,
whatever they're doing, you're learning.
Just one question. Well, what about this?
Yeah. So imagine if you're an off-road person, right? And you get stuck in the mud and you got to call a tow truck to pull you out. Well, after the third pull out, the 10th pull out, the 20th pull out, eventually
you're going to figure out how to go around that.
either that or you're going to learn how to unstick yourself by watching the tow truck
and
unstick
doing it
you.
yourself.
You're either going to get a winch and wrap it around a tree and then hoist it. You're going to do something because you're going to go, okay,
I'm done with someone pulling me out.
Not just that, but you've learned because you're watching them unstick you. But prior to that, you didn't know how to get yourself out.
But you also have to be conscious enough to remember when someone helps you get unstuck, you have to remember those words, and you have to remember and you have to practice that.
Yeah,
otherwise you're
absolutely.
going to continue to
absolutely.
get stuck.
If you're present and watch, let's say you're asking someone for help and they come over and they help you. If you're oblivious to what they're doing and you're just watching like mindlessly what they're doing to help you, and then it's over, you're like, oh, you're done? Thank you. And then you're
going to do it again.
Yeah, exactly. But once you do it again, you're not going to know how to fix it.
Right.
But if that person that came to fix it for you, if you're watching and observing them, they're actually teaching you how to fix it yourself.
Yes, if you choose to be present and open to
exactly. that. Exactly. It's just like any kind of expert or professional you hire, whether it's an electrician or a plumber. After hiring a plumber to come and unclog your sink or your toilet or whatever it is, or the electrician to come and put your electric fan up or whatever, at a certain point, you can actually watch them and learn yourself and figure it out.
And do it yourself.
Or when all else fails, go to YouTube. YouTube will teach you
anything
you want to know. There's millions of experts out there that are willing to help you get some more clarity on what it is you need to help you become more powerful, more effective, and then access more of your full potential. We're going to take another break, come back. We're going to wrap up the show. Stay tuned for more of the Alex Urbina radio show right here on your hometown station, KHTS. And welcome back to the Alex Urbina radio show. I'm your host, hanging out with Ellen Tunick. We've been talking about emotions, how we turn words into emotions. We've also been talking about how we make up certain stories when people either don't get back to us with some form of communication. And in that silence, in that patient waiting period, it's very challenging to just learn how to be neutral, give it a time frame for us to come back and revisit it before we make up those stories. And in that silence, to not make up these negative stories to validate some of the insecurities that we might have. You know, it's very easy to ask somebody, maybe even on a second date, right? And then you don't get a response for 3 or 4 days. It's very easy to make up stories that, well, maybe it's me. Maybe it was something I said. Maybe it was something that's wrong with me. We start to go and we validate some of these insecurities that we've created for ourselves.
We revisit what we said, how we said it.
Yeah, because your ego, right, the monkey mind, the ego goes on the search to find stories to validate our limiting beliefs.
Well, and we also want to put closure to it. Okay, this is what it was.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of being able to lay it open for a while.
Yeah, instead of just saying, well, how about they just haven't got back to me? How about we just go back to the basics, and the basic result is I sent a text, I made an invitation, and then they just haven't responded yet. And let's just stop there.
Yeah.
Now, after 3 or 4, 7, 12 days, it's probably easier for you now to go, all right, well, either I can send a second response or make a phone call, because I don't even know if they got the first response or not. Some people are so busy, or they're like for me, sometimes I'm in a coaching session and I'll get a text that comes in and I'll look at it real quick.
And in your mind, it's like, okay.
Yeah, I got to get back to this.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I get out of that, I got, kids calling, wife calling, clients calling. I move one back to back to back to back, and it just got buried there.
Yeah.
Now, it happens less and less because I am really diligent about my text messages, because it could mean life or death for somebody. Not literally.
Right.
But people are struggling. They might need me, so
it's imperative to them.
I'm usually going back to follow up to see if I got back to people. But it does happen. But for people that aren't in my type of profession, I'm sure it happens a lot. They just move on to what's next, and they tell themselves, oh, I got to get back to that, and it gets buried. That happens a lot of times, sometimes with my emails, right? Because I'll check my email on my phone, and then when I click on it, it now takes it off of being unseen.
Unread, yeah.
And then I'll go, oh, I got to get back to that. And then 7 days later, I get someone going, hey, I sent you a text. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I did get it. So it's what happens. So we have to now take responsibility for, if I don't get a response within, and then decide your time, 24 hours, 48 hours, I need to send a follow-up. Hey, I sent you something. I know you're a busy person. Even a quick little thumbs up, let me know you got it, that you're aware of it. And then sometimes I'll get a thumbs up going, oh my God, I did get it. Thanks for bearing with me. Thanks for being patient. I promise you tonight before 10 o'clock, I'm going to make a phone call.
But what's also popped in my head is you can also choose to not do anything.
Absolutely. That's part of being neutral.
Yeah. You put it out there and you release the responsibility to that person, and so be it.
I've done it several times where I've sent out an invitation. Hey, you showed interest in this. I remembered you. Just wanted to invite you. No response. Down on the bottom, it says delivered. So now they got it.
Right.
Second response. Hey, didn't hear anything back from you a couple of days ago. I sent it to you. After the second, maybe the third, or even after the second, I move on.
Let it go.
I move on.
Yeah.
I move on. And if later on somehow it comes back around like, hey, I noticed you. Oh, I sent you 2 responses or 2 text messages. Maybe you didn't get them. And then based on how they responded to me, lets me know that they were interested. It was probably something that fell through the cracks or whatever. But it's, you're in control of your own interpretations. You can totally just go, hey, what it is without making up a story like they don't care.
Or setting up this expectation and then being so disappointed when it doesn't come down that way. You're not doing yourself any service.
If you're going to set expectations, set it for yourself to be the follow-up person.
Exactly.
Hey, the expectation is on me to follow up
to follow up or not,
to get my answer.
Yeah.
So I can get this off of my plate.
Right.
But you didn't own it like that.
No, I did not.
You put the
Everything on
bearing
that
of the burden on them to go, hey, I'm going to take it now. Thanks for doing what you've done. I'm going to take it back, and I'm going to carry it now. You visualize it looking like that, because that's probably what you would have done.
That's 100% correct.
You would have told that person, oh my God, I got this now.
Yeah.
if you need anything, let me know. I'll
Right.
run
I'm
with
on
it.
it.
People don't operate like that. Everyone does that.
Yeah.
You're a rare breed. And even the people that are listening, there's certain things that you do really well, and it's your niche. It's your, like, I have integrity, or I follow through, or I'm on time.
It's just who I am.
Yeah, it's who you've decided to be.
Yeah.
Is certain higher standards that you've decided that's how you're going to live your life.
Right.
Doesn't mean that you have those higher standards all the way across the board.
Heck no.
Just only in certain areas, right? There's certain
Yeah.
things that just it's your thing.
And it's not hard. It just comes very naturally.
Some things come natural. Some you probably put extra effort because you've been on the other end of not having it, and you go, "Oh man,
I don't like the way that
I don't
feels.
like that feel, so I'm not going to do that to others." And you
Right.
just decided to now make that your thing.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that other people it's their thing.
Yeah.
Because they have a high tolerance, or they can take it, or it's not
Or
a
they
big
don't
deal
care.
to them, or they don't care. Exactly.
Which is okay.
Yeah. So I think if you give people a little bit of grace and know that they're on their own journey, they're probably on their end not making it a big deal the way you are.
It's a different connection with what's going on. My connection was seen one way, my requirements, my need. It's a lot of my. I can't place my on them.
Correct. Now, earlier when I started the show, I talked about how do we turn words into emotions. And it was funny because I thought we were going down the left side of the road. We ended up going down the right side, which is cool too because I love that topic. And maybe this will be a different topic for a different show, but there's this thing that when we turn words into emotions, what I mean by that is there are certain words, actually all words, have meaning to me. Now, the words in my vocabulary that have meaning to me, they might not have the same meaning to you. And that's why when I do the show or when I do coaching, I help people get clear about what the meanings that they attach to all the words in their vocabulary.
It's interpretation.
It's all through the interpretation. So if there's a certain word that someone walks by and says to both you and me, and you're rubbed the wrong way or you're irritated and you walk away and the whole rest of the day, your day's ruined because of that one specific word that someone said to you, but it also said it to me, and I could be living my life just the rest of the day having a good
Right.
time, and then the whole weekend goes by and we get together on Monday and I go, man, how was your weekend? You go, man, it was horrible.
It sucked.
Because of what Tommy said on Friday to both of us. And I'm going to go, what did he say? And you're going to go, he said, and then you're going to say the word or 3 or 4 words. I'm going to go, but what meaning did you give it? And then you're going to say, well, the meaning I gave it was that he didn't care, that he wasn't going to take responsibility. That now I have to own it. And then that's more of a burden on me. And then I felt disrespected. And I could be sitting there going, I didn't hear any of that.
Because you didn't choose.
Because the words had different meanings to me. So as you're hearing 1 or 2 of those words and the meaning you're making up is all about you,
Mm-hmm.
I've decided to listen and hear words either for me or for him or them. And so a lot of times I listen from people when they share, when they say certain things, I can see it as a byproduct of their functioning. Let's take the F word, for example. If somebody that you cared about used the F word towards you, would you be offended?
Nah.
Okay, if someone so most people would probably say yes, because having somebody take their anger out on them or their frustration and use all these vulgar words, somebody would really be offended by that. And the reason why is because they're hearing and interpreting those words onto them rather than hearing it as that's a dysfunction going on their part. They're angry, they're upset, they're mad. Whole nother topic. We'll talk about it maybe next Friday. Sound good?
I love it.
All right, thanks for listening to the Alex Urbina radio show right here in your hometown station, KHTS.